Welcome to episode 21 of Dissent Into The Wormhole, where we discuss everything from ancient civilization to modern day social issues and everything in between. I'm Les.
And I'm Stevie J, and today we're going to take a look at the Mandela Effect. What is it? What's it all about? And what are some examples of the Mandela Effect? So grab your coffee, set that cruise control, and let's get right into it. Is Mandela
Maybe
alive?
even put on a tinfoil hat.
Ooh, the tinfoil hat. I need to replace this one. Actually, It's sublined with tinfoil, so I'm okay.
Oh, perfect.
I'm okay.
You're always ready.
You're
always prepared.
Wherever I go, I'm tinfoil hat ready. So, is Mandela alive?
No.
When did he die?
That depends on who you're asking.
It does, doesn't it? And so we come to the Mandela Effect.
Yes.
So what would be the scholar's version of the Mandela Effect? Like, what is the scholar's version?
Well, the Mandela Effect refers to a situation in which a large mass of people believe that an event occurred when it actually did not.
Ooh, very interesting. And it was coined because everybody thought, or a large mass of people thought, that Nelson Mandela died in prison in South Africa, right?
Yeah.
But he actually...
People remember being taught that in school.
Yes, in textbooks and stuff too, yeah?
Yeah.
And so, like, there's this big group of people out there believing he died in... And so much so that it was just... I find it's interesting too, like one of those things where it's not something you talk about every day, obviously. You don't walk around going, geez, Nelson Mandela's dead, like every day. But when it comes up, because it's such a natural and an instinctive thing to go, oh yeah, he died in prison. Like... Where does that come from? And like, we're going to get into that, but like, where the hell does that come from? Because it's so many people. It's not one or two.
And that's just it. Like if it was one or two, you'd be like, they just got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But when he actually did die, there were so many people confused.
Yeah.
So many people were confused. They're like, wait a minute. No. Like he died years ago, like decades ago.
Yeah.
And it was like a mass consciousness shift of this isn't right. And it actually, and when this happens, because some of the things we're going to go through, I had the same thing. It was like when I learned that it wasn't what I thought it was, it really bothered me.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I went down the rabbit hole of trying to prove to myself that I was right and what they were showing me was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it can really screw with your head when these things happen, but they happen a lot. And there are many different, thought theories on why, but there's one that I like to stick to. Yeah. And I think you like to stick to it too.
Yeah, I agree with that one too. Because to me, like you've got to, with all of these things, and of course, everything we talk about on this podcast and channel is having an open mind, and you've got to have an open mind with this kind of stuff because no one's been able to answer this. Like science hasn't been able to answer this. No. And to me, I just go, well, what's the most logical, plausible reason for this happening? Because you have to take, like you said, on one hand, there's millions of people, hundreds of millions who think the same thing. Mandela died in prison, and then another group of people, and well, textbooks now and facts showing that he died much later in 2013. So, but the curious question to me is, where that start? Like, where did that start that happened?
No clue.
Because, and I think we'll get into that theory that we both like a little later, which may explain why we're talking about that. But using the word curious brings me to the next one, I feel, which is a little monkey man called Curious George.
A little bugger.
That little bugger. Well, did he have a tail though? That's the question.
See, now when you asked me that question, I said no, he did not.
Right.
Because I like in my head, I'm like, no, I don't remember him having a tail. What do you think? Like, how do you remember Curious George?
I do remember a tail.
Do you?
I do. Yeah.
That's so bizarre.
Mm-hmm. But, well, this is another theory too. Like with that one, because I never watched a lot of Curious George, right? Like I didn't watch heaps of Curious George. But for me, maybe it's the mental preposition that a monkey has a tail. So I just see a monkey or think of a monkey and a tail appears, if that makes sense.
It could be. It could be just your knowledge that they do have tails.
Yes.
But do they? Not all of them have tails. Orangutans don't have tails.
True. Do baboons have tails? I know they've got the weird butts, but do they have the tails?
I don't think.
It's Mandela Effect.
I don't know. I don't do a lot of monkey research, so.
You're not into the monkey business?
No, but the funny thing is, I actually did watch a David Attenborough last night.
Oh,
and there was monkeys in it, so I should probably know this answer, but I do not.
Yes, well, David Attenborough is very cool. I like his documentaries, but
so good.
I don't really remember watching Curious George much, but I always just assume a tail's there. But that could be my lack of monkey research as well, and my lack of Curious George watching. I wasn't that curious, I guess.
Guess not. But now you are, and he doesn't have a tail. He never had a tail.
Exactly. But I can see how this would be cause for discussion on a large scale, because there would be a big group of people saying, tail. And a big group of people saying, no tail.
Yeah. And then you get into an argument about it.
Exactly. And lose friendships. Fun times. And, all kinds
over stupid shit. You lose your friendships. Yep. It's happened.
Oh, yeah.
It's happened.
Many times.
So the next one, I think it's very, very confusing for a lot of people, me included, because I grew up on these books. Berenstain Bears.
Yeah, so now
Berenstain Bears. It's Berenstain, right?
Well, this is a really good example, because I before this had no idea about the Berenstain Bears. Like I've seen the comparisons done before on the Mandela Effect, but I've never been exposed to the books ever.
They're not down there. I wonder why.
Not that I've seen. But
it's interesting.
To me, Berenstain just sounds right. It just sounds right. Because having the word stain in the title of a kid's book just doesn't, I don't know, why have stain when you can have stain?
Yeah, because it's actually the Berenstain Bears.
Right.
Like, so.
But I'm sure, and I could be wrong, but wasn't there some literature or something that was printed with Berenstain on it? I don't know. We might have to look that up, but
we may have to look that up, because that's a really good question.
But that will come into our theory too later on what all this is, and
what's going on?
What's going on
the
here?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because so it's Berenstain, and I've watched a few documentaries on the Mandela Effect, and they've actually interviewed the Berenstains. And they're like, we've never changed our name. It's always been that way. It's like, are you sure? I feel you might not be correct.
Are you sure you're actually you? I got my doubts about you.
I got my eye on you, Berenstain.
Did any of them ask the question, well, why didn't you change your name? Why didn't you?
I think that was just the universe's way of trying to tell them to change their name. I don't know. Exactly. I'm not too sure.
Look, we've done a consensus and everybody hates your name. All right. So just change it to be Berenstain. We need it to be that. Well,
and, it's their name. It's like, we can't, we don't choose our names,
Right.
Logically, in this, anyway, we do, but anyway, we don't.
Yeah.
So, but Berenstain is just hard. It's a tongue twister. So maybe that could be why we could never do it, because even as little children, like it's not easy to get your mouth around.
Yes, it is a real tongue twister, a big tongue twister. And, Berenstain, like, okay, I was thinking about this yesterday, doing it fast, like saying it fast, the Berenstain Bears, Berenstain Bears. Berenstain. Like, it's very, very close. If you're speaking fast, then I get it. Like, if enough people said it enough times, it would be Berenstain, I guess. But for these people, who created it and the bears themselves, They're the Berenstains.
Yeah.
Always have
They
been.
really are.
Always will be.
Always will be. Pass it on to your children.
Yeah.
So they don't run around making the same mistake we all did.
Yep. Doing the tongue twister.
Yeah. The next one is Rich Uncle Pennybags. So the Monopoly guy.
Yes.
We both agreed on this one.
We did. Now, we need to put this question to the masses, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, answer in the comments, answer on the social media somewhere. Does the Monopoly guy, or in your mind, before we tell you, does the Monopoly guy have a monocle? Is he wearing a single glass over a single eye? Because the answer is, of course,
no.
He is not.
The answer should be yes, he does.
It should be, because in my mind, he's always worn a monocle.
Yeah.
So I feel like Hasbro need to go back over every single Monopoly game they've ever created.
Yeah.
And just, even if it's just with a texter, just draw a monocle on that Monopoly guy.
I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go to Toys R Us and I'm going to draw a monocle on all of him.
Please,
on all of them.
Just start doing it. Well, I'll do it here and we'll cover at least 0.005% of the world's Monopoly games.
Perfect. I love it.
And it's a start. You got to start somewhere, don't you?
You really do. We could probably start a trend that everyone just goes to Toys R Us or anywhere you buy games and start drawing the things. But yeah, he doesn't have a monocle. And a lot of people think that it gets mixed up with the Mr. Peanut dude because he does have a monocle. But I see it. I envision it. When I think of the Monopoly dude, I see him with his top hat, his cane, and his goddamn monocle.
Yeah. Well, he's got it. He has a monocle. I'm still not even believing it. No, he has a monocle. Yeah. And I feel like maybe he had eye issues. You know, one eye was just zooming in too much. And so he took it off. He had to take it off at some point. Like it was causing him some balance and depth issues. So he had to take it off. Like you keep bumping into light poles. You got to do something about it, right?
You really do, because that gets dangerous.
Yeah. He could never pass go. He could never get his $200.
Well, that's just a shame.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. But the Monopoly guy, like it's also another one of those ones in pop culture too. Because the Monopoly guy has been referenced in a lot of films and shows and all of that kind of stuff. And they always assume he's got a monocle. So if, for example, it's in a movie and it's somebody who looks like the Monopoly guy, he's got a monocle and they're like, oh, you look like the Monopoly guy. So where does that get in so deep into pop culture that you'll see it in more films and other films and things like that as a reference when it's not accurate? Because that's a big influence, right? You would have to see a massive amount of influence to see it brought into pop culture and spread everywhere.
And not only that, one would think that they would have a fact checker.
Right. Yeah. Like who's doing the background checks? And that's a great point, because when they're creating these films, and usually the one that comes to mind for me is a movie called Ace Ventura, where this guy, he really looks like the Monopoly guy. Like he's got the bald head and the mustache and a monocle. And it's a Jim Carrey movie, and he turns around and he's like, oh, look, it's the Monopoly guy kind of thing. And to me, I'm like, yep, I get it. Yep. Got the monocle, everything.
Yeah.
But the person who decided to put that in the film, probably Jim Carrey, like, where's the research? Where's the actually checking into it? Because but in his mind, I'm sure he was so sure, just like us, that the Monopoly guy has a freaking monocle, because he does.
Exactly.
He does.
So you think, I don't need a fact checker. I don't need a fact checker for this. Yeah. I know. To find out, I didn't know shit.
Right. I have played Monopoly more than once.
Mm-hmm.
I know this man. And a monocle he does have. Yep.
Yep. Another one.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So another one that goes way, way back, and it is very popular, or at least was anyway, starting in the 60s, which I cannot believe, that just blew my mind, is the cartoon that comes along with the Yabba Dabba Doo. So the Flintstones. 1 T or 2 T's?
or no T's?
Ooh. Good question.
Yeah.
How many T's are there?
Well, Flintstone 1.
Right.
Because it's the Flintstones.
Now, I'm a 1T guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't need 2 T's. I'm
That's too much.
Exactly. I'm comfortable with
too
one.
much work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can only be one place at one time. So the 1T I'm with. Because there's too much going on in the name, right, as well. Like there's
Yes.
to have 2 T's.
Yeah. Because it's actually it doesn't even flow nicely, because what it actually is the Flintstones.
Yes.
As in Flint, Michigan. And that just, to me, just doesn't flow right. Just like the Berenstain Bears, it doesn't flow right out of the face. Like the Flintstones, like it's the Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones.
Yeah. The Flintstones.
Yeah.
Flintstones. We can keep saying it over and over again. Flintstones.
It's still not going to make it right.
Well, that's just it, because, and it makes sense though, Flintstones, because flint is the type of rock they use to start fires.
Yes.
So Flintstones, perfect sense. No T, no extra T, please. I'll just take one.
Yeah, 1 T, please.
One T. It's too confusing. Again, a mouthful. Like it's just too much of a mouthful to have 2 T's.
Especially for children.
Yes. Again. And it's a cartoon. It's a kid's show.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, I remember all of these shows fondly, actually. But I never remember the names, like specifically looking and reading the name, because you hear the jingle, you hear the song coming on the TV when you're a kid, you know. And we were just talking about the Jetsons too. You hear that jingle coming and you're like, oh, okay, I know what show this is. I don't need to watch. I need to see what the name is.
Yeah, I know exactly what I know exactly what it is. From across the house, I know what that is.
Exactly. But it's so weird. So weird to me.
Yeah.
How all of these things happen. All of them.
Yeah. This one had me flipping this morning. Because you asked me, what did you ask me?
I asked you, with Looney Tunes, is the tunes spelled as in Toons, like cartoons, or is it Tunes, like, hey, we're dancing to some tunes, nice tunes, rocking tunes? And I feel like your head just had a little mini explosion when I asked that.
It did have a little mini explosion, because I automatically, when I visualize it, it's TOO. Tunes.
And I actually had the same, like before I saw this one, before I mentioned it to you, I actually had the same, like that was my visual, was TOONS.
Yeah.
Like tunes, cartoons.
Yeah.
And they're loonies. We get that. They're loonies.
Yeah.
But apparently it is TUNES.
Yep.
And
apparently it always has been.
Exactly. And it always has been.
Like who no.
No, somebody changed it.
Yeah. And I was like, nope. I went to the internet. I went
so much so you didn't believe me. You're like, no, check out this lying prick. No, he's full of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't trust him.
Can't trust him as far as you can throw him. Like, I was literally mind blown on this one. I was so sure of myself.
You nearly called me a loony, because how could it not be?
Nearly.
Okay, did. How can it not be tunes with a TOO?
Yeah.
Because that's just what it is. Like,
yep.
I really want to, I'd love to get hold of Bugs Bunny and ask him. Like, hey, Bugs, come on. Yeah. Cough up the facts here. It's always been tunes, right?
Yes. And can we just have Warner Brothers put it back to what it should be and what it originally was?
Please.
Just ask that of them?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
That would suit me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That would suit me too.
Well, Warner Brothers, right? Talking about Warner Brothers, they have some big franchises, and I feel like another ginormous behemoth franchise is the Star Wars franchise. And I feel like everyone knows where we're heading with this one, but when Darth Vader in episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, when Darth Vader is standing over Luke and he says that famous line, does he say Luke's name or does he not?
Says, Luke, I am your father.
Ooh, thank you. Yes, he does. Right?
But
He says, well, in our minds he does, but according to what they're showing of the film now, the clips that they're showing of the film now, because I'm in denial.
Yeah.
Like I will always be in denial.
Yeah.
Apparently, in the clips that they show these days of that section, all he says is, no, I am your father.
Which makes no sense.
Well, no, like, because it makes so much more sense and it's more impactful when he says, which is the reality, for me at least, when he says, no, Luke, I am your father.
Mm-hmm.
Just doesn't
the
work.
thing is, when we were talking about this, like, I even said, like, I can hear him saying it.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear him, like, I can hear his voice saying it. And again, in one of the documentaries that I watched on this, they interviewed James Earl Jones and asked him flat out. They're like, well, why don't we just ask the guy who said the line in the first place? He said, I never said that. It's like, but you did, dude. You did. Like, even going to the source for like, no, he's lying. He's in on this whole thing too. He's here to screw with us.
You know what? I'm going to get in a DeLorean. I'm going to get in a time machine. You can come with me if you want. We'll fill up Mr. Fusion. Let's go back to when they filmed that exact scene. Okay. And we will see them. And we will see James Earl Jones say, no, Luke, I am your father. Let's do it. We can prove it.
We can prove it.
Yeah. Because it happened. He said it.
He did. And the thing is, like, there is, like, it's not like it's a movie where, you know, like half the population has seen it. Like, the majority of the population has seen this movie. Yep. It is a very, very famous line.
Yep.
That never existed. Like, how did that come to be?
Well, and that's what I find so interesting about, like, all of this, is especially with this one, a movie that has been seen by so many people, and not just once, too.
Yeah,
so many times. Like, me and my brothers were pretty nerdy. Like, we watched this over and over and over and over, and we always quoted, no, Luke, I am your father. Every time. From when I saw it when I was probably 4 years old, right up until this day, because that's what he said. So, but again, this one's also referenced in pop culture too, in a lot of other movies. So, but like on that point of so many people seeing it, you would think it would an error like that, a mistake, would be rubbed out really quick. Like, people would just go, as soon as someone said, no, Luke, I'm your father, everyone would go, no, that's not what he said. Come on, get it right.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
If you're going to do it right. Yeah.
Exactly. But they didn't. So, you know, and this is probably more so than almost any of the other ones I feel been used and reused in cartoons, in movies, and like just about everything, because it's such a famous and iconic scene. So, like in another kids film, in Toy Story. So there's this evil emperor in that, basically. You know, it's Darth Vader, essentially. And they're having this battle, Buzz Lightyear and him. And it's a complete recreation of this Star Wars scene. And the emperor guy, or the Darth Vader guy, says, no, Buzz, I am your father. So even in that, they're reusing the same thing that you and I saw, which is reality. Yeah. Like, that was what happened.
Yeah. That was our reality.
But when they're rehashing it in other films and stuff like that, it makes you go, well, you know, are they really telling the truth right now? James Earl Jones, are you trustworthy?
I don't think he is.
Like, I feel he was a good king in The Lion King, but does that make him trustworthy? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I got my doubts.
Yeah. Well,
I got some massive doubts.
Yeah, he definitely lied, though. Definitely lied.
So, speaking of more children's stories, we got Snow White. What on earth did Snow White ever do to anybody?
Well,
poor delicate flower.
I feel she was too pure.
I feel she was too. The problem doesn't lie in Snow White herself. It doesn't lie within the dwarves.
No.
Those seven little cuties.
No, it doesn't.
It is with the evil witch.
Hmm?
So when Queenie goes to the mirror,
yes,
and wants to know who is the fairest of them all, what does she say?
She says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" Right? That's what she says.
Yeah. And the mirror comes back and says, well, why, it's Snow White. But now they're trying to tell us, they're trying to scramble our brains by saying, she said magic mirror on the wall.
Mm-mm-mm.
Where on earth would we have ever have gotten mirror, mirror? Because we repeat it a lot. Again, in movies and pop culture, in other children's tales, we repeat it so often. So where did it come from?
Yep. I feel like it's in books. It has to be in books that it says mirror, mirror. And, there's a bloody...
I never thought to check the book.
There's a Julia Roberts movie, 2016, actually called Mirror, Mirror, about Snow White. Why call an entire movie Mirror, Mirror when it's actually supposed to be? I mean, supposedly. I feel it's all lies, but they're saying it's magic mirror.
Yeah.
Where the hell did that come from? That is my question on all of these things. Where does it start? And how does it get so far and so far across the world that so many people agree? Because, like, I could start a rumor right now, or I could say something different right now, yeah? Like, I don't know, take Friends, for example, Joey Tribbiani. And his "How you doing?" Right? I could start a thing now and say, and just go around and tell everyone I know, no, he doesn't say that. He just says, "How doing?" Like, but that's not going to go anywhere. Everyone's just going to look at me and go, "You ding dong." Of course, it's not that.
Yeah.
So
how many times? Like, have you even seen Friends? Like, come on.
Exactly. Do you even have friends?
You're not going to have any if you keep spreading that rumor.
Exactly. You don't mess up the Joey Tribbiani.
No.
But the thing is, like, that's just going to go nowhere if I try and do that. So how the hell do these, some of them lies, some of the rumors, how do they get so far and wide across the world that you've almost got like a 50-50 split of people going,
yeah,
I remember it exactly this way and I remember it exactly this way. Crazy. So this last one we're going to cover, I feel, is probably of all of these, the one I'm most convinced is how I remember it. And that is a very famous Queen song, "We Are the Champions."
Yeah.
Now,
no time for losers.
No, well, of course there isn't. Because we are the champions.
Who's got time for that?
Exactly.
Who's got time for that? No one.
Well, thank you for having time for me.
Well, you pay me well, so there's that.
So, what is the last thing that Freddie Mercury says at the end of this song?
Well, it's up for debate. Because when I read this one, I said, nope, I'm not buying it. Nope, I can't. Like, it in my soul, I'm like, that's not right. I can hear him say it. I know he said it. And I'm the Mandela effect on this one. I figured it out. I figured out how it happened.
All right,
so what
curious.
so what this one says, it says it came an accepted notion that Freddie Mercury passionately ends the song by singing "of the world," but that didn't happen in the recording, as evidenced by the lyrics. Now this one, and I was like, nope. F you, I heard it. So I went down the rabbit hole. I'm like, where have I heard that? And thank you, memory. So I was thinking, I've seen him do it. Like, where have I seen him do this?
Yeah.
When they performed Live Aid, which was one of the most iconic things they ever did. At the very end of that, and I'm going to put it in I'm going to put in the clip. He actually sings at the end of it. He belts it out, "of the world."
Thank you.
Belts it.
Yes.
Belts it.
Thank
On the
you.
recorded version, studio recorded version, it's not. But that's where it was, because Live Aid was so it
It
was
was huge, right?
so
It was
it was
massive.
huge. Most everyone has seen it. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest, because it was such a great performance by Freddie and Queen, and just undoubtedly just amazing. But that's what it was. It was the most iconic concert they ever did.
Yeah.
And that's where it came from. That's why so many people remember it that way, because it was such a passionate at the end. Like he meant it. He meant it. Like,
oh, absolutely. And when you brought up, when I saw this one come up, and and you mentioned that you found out, like you figured it out and un-Mandelaed it, I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this, because to me, in my head, all I hear is "of the world" at the end, and I'm like, this one can't be. It can't be any different.
Yeah, I did not like it. I did not like it, because then I started thinking, like, are we getting confused with Bohemian Rhapsody? So I started going down like that rabbit hole with my brain. I'm like, no, he said it, man. I know he did.
Another great song, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, really interesting, because I remember it that way too, and so it makes sense. And thank you, you did it. You cracked the code, at least to that one, because being it was so popular, the Live Aid thing, I feel like they would have played that version over and over and over again too.
Oh yeah.
As in, like on radio, on records, like they would have just played it over and over again.
Yeah.
Because it was so good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you cracked that one, because that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was never going to agree with that, by the way.
Me neither.
That "Of the World" wasn't in there, because it is absolutely, absolutely. Well, that was a good one to finish, I think, on the examples of the Mandela Effect. I feel like everyone out there is going to be having a bit of a chat to themselves, to other people. Hey, what do you go and ask people? Just go and ask people. Hey, what do you remember of this? Like, do you remember it this way? But that leads us to, like, what causes it? What causes the Mandela Effect? And I feel like this is super interesting.
So there are a few different theories on this one. So the first one is false memories, that we're just remembering it wrong, which is a little discerning, because then you're saying that, like, this many people just remember it wrong. That doesn't feel right. Then you have alternative realities.
Now you're piquing my interest.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit more plausible, right?
Yes.
And then they have memory-related concepts. And again, something wrong with our memory.
Right.
And then they said this is the internet's impact. And as soon as I heard that one, I was like, no. Because we only just got the internet. Like, I want to say we only just, but I was in my 20s when we got the internet.
Exactly.
So why am I remembering things like Star Wars when I was a child watching it? Why am I remembering it? So, and I remember, like, and a lot of these things I do remember as a young child, hearing and seeing and witnessing.
Yeah.
So I am throwing out the internet possibility.
Go on.
And so the one that really, really hits home for me is alternate realities and quantum jumping.
Yep. Me too.
And this is much more plausible for me. How do you feel about this?
100% agree. 100% agree. And whatever form the parallel universe or quantum jumping takes or looks like, it's something to do with that. Like two concurrent things happening at the same time, or multiple things happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And you go.
Yeah. No. I was just going to say, it could be a million different things happening all at once.
Right.
And it just depends on which one we rock up into.
Yeah. Well, just on that as well, because I do think that that theory and those theories are the most likely, the most logical, that makes sense for something like this to occur with such a massive group of people. And I wanted to get into, and I said this to you in the morning, that given our knowledge of quantum physics, which is extensive, of course. I'm joking, people. We've seen documentaries. That's it. Yeah. But the one of the small parts about quantum physics and quantum mechanics that we do know about is the behavior of particles and an observer. So
Yes.
and people don't have to trust us. They can go look this up and see the experiments done over and over again. But basically what it is that the observer is what influences the outcome. So they do these tests which should produce a random result, like a completely random splatter of particles on a wall, basically. That's as crude as I can say it. And what happens though is that there's a completely random splatter when nobody's watching. There's no observer. It's recorded on camera, but no one's watching. But as soon as somebody watches and observes what happens, it all of a sudden the spots go into a completely organized and symmetrical pattern on the wall. Yep. So the observer influences the outcome. And in this case, what it could be is that when you yourself view or think of whatever it is, Star Wars, the Berenstain Bears, Curious George's Tale, whatever it is, you know.
The monocle. He's got a monocle, damn it.
He's got a freaking monocle. I'm not over that. He will always have one. No. But whatever we think of or whatever comes up in our mind intuitively, are we influencing the outcome of that? And that's why it can be such a mass group of people. I don't know. It's just a theory. Just a theory. Yes.
Well, I was Cynthia Sue Larson she actually is a quantum physicist. So she knows her stuff, and she's really into this, and she's done talks on the Mandela Effect, and she even does there's actually a Mandela Effect conference. I had no idea. How cool is that? I'd love to go to that.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I would love to go and just hear the theories.
Yeah.
But she said it is the reflective cognition. So it is, what did she say? It's paying attention. It's being aware that you're paying attention. It's like you're aware that you are the observer. And a lot of us, for the most part, we don't live in that state of being the observer of the observer. Mm-hmm. Like we want to like almost double back on ourselves and kind of perceive things from an outside source, but still inside. It's because it's a lot to intake if you're not used to observing the world that way.
Yeah.
So, and she also said, because everything is entangled, like there's a huge entanglement with consciousness because we share everything. So she thinks that if not everyone, but a certain amount of people are all focused and intention on the same thing, because they're all dialed into that one area of consciousness and in that reality field. So they're all going to experience the same thing. Yeah. So that makes sense. And she also thinks that the changes, she said, because the changes are very real, like very, very real. So she thinks that they're changing for a higher purpose. So she said that it gets us closer to the truth.
Yes. Well, that's interesting.
So, yeah. So whatever that truth may be. So she said, instead of, because she really surprised me. And I was telling you this morning that because she was talking about her experience with Jane Goodall, because there's a Mandela effect with Jane Goodall that a lot of people thought she died ages ago. And when she finally found out, she's like, oh, she's alive. Her reaction wasn't, Cynthia's reaction wasn't like, what do you mean? Like the fuck? She was like, she's alive in this reality. That was her reaction.
Yes.
It's like, I love that reaction.
That is such a good reaction. Such a good reaction.
Yeah. Because you're not going down the rabbit hole and spiraling yourself like I did this morning with Queen. Like you don't do that.
and there was no lack of trust with the Looney Tunes.
No lack of trust there. But
yeah.
I love her outcome. She said, if we can just keep asking like these, she said, they're going to keep happening. Yep. So instead of just, taking ourselves down the rabbit hole, just say, wow, that's really interesting. Where is this taking me closer to the truth? Like in an inquisitive mind kind of way.
And acknowledging that it's a different reality. Like,
yes. Mm-hmm. And asking questions changes our reality too. As soon as we start asking different questions, our reality starts to change. And they also had this conversation on how And like not like nobody lives in the same reality. Like no, there is no one true reality because we're all seeing it from very different angles and very different. Because we could go to the same store, do the exact same thing, and have two very different experiences.
Yeah.
So she said, when these things happen, and instead of getting into arguments and instead of losing friends, like honestly, and getting into arguments because you don't see things the same way, just say, cool, that's cool, and move on. You're right. Just say you're right and move on.
Yeah.
Because they could very well have experienced it the way that they are saying. And who are we to say, no, you didn't?
Yeah, in that reality. But then
in that reality, they absolutely did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wow, I wonder how many arguments and friendships, maybe even relationships, have been lost.
Yeah, marriages
for people having an argument over Darth Vader. Like, because for both people, it's 100% accurate and true.
Yeah.
And for two people who are not going to give in on that argument as well.
That's right.
Or multiple people even. But like it's really interesting that. And the other thing too is like mentioning the quantum entanglement as well is part of the idea of that entanglement is that like if you've got a particle, let's say a particle, it has an exact replica of it.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how far apart in the universe or how close together, when something happens to one, it will happen to the other. But it could also happen with a different perception for one and the other. So there absolutely everything is connected and instantaneously as well. So it doesn't feel like it's happened in a different time. It doesn't feel like you're, going forward or backwards or da. It's just, that's what it is. And that's why in our minds, we're like, he definitely said of the world. 100%. Yes. Now, I know you cracked that code already. You explained that one. But, with the Star Wars one or Looney Tunes, any of that stuff, you're like, as soon as you think of it, boom, that's what comes up.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality.
Yeah. That was our reality. And that's how we remember our reality.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. So I hope there's no, arguments in the comment section. Just because it's very interesting. And the more and more, I go down this rabbit hole of reality and the mind and, just jumping in different realities and manifesting, like it is more and more of just not arguing with people is like the easiest, you're not spending unnecessary energy trying to prove your point.
Yeah.
But it's also, you get to see how other people, because if we're constantly trying to tell people, no, he did say, Luke, I am your father. If we're trying to like shove that down the throat, it opens up a different door. I feel just to allow people just to say, just to allow people to have their reality.
Right. Yes. But you also, like you said about being open, you could be, if you're open like that and the goal or the quest of it or the reasoning behind it is to eventually get closer to truth, the more open you are about those sorts of things and accepting other people's realities and acknowledging it, the more likely you are to get to whatever that eventual truth is. I feel anyway, like that's just my opinion, but it's so interesting. All of it. I love it because
I love it too.
It comes up so much. And I said this to you this morning as well. Like when I think of this stuff, I love it because if I can't answer it, like if there's no answer for it, it interests me and I want to know more and I want to theorize about it because it's like, it's just fantastic to me. It's amazing. It's so interesting.
Yeah. I love it. This is one of my favorite topics. Is like, what the hell happened? We are constantly shifting and moving through realities, but I want to make a conscious choice about it.
Yes. And if that quantum theory about and those experiments about the observer being the influencer are true and are accurate, then in theory you probably could do that. You probably could do that, but we don't know how. That's the thing. We don't know how to make that happen. So I'd love to know that because imagine being able to Imagine being able to see and experience different realities. And it'd just be so, it would
Yeah.
be so intriguing. So intriguing.
Yeah.
You know, trying to achieve those sort of things or experience, explore, just see what's out there, like what is there to see. Because I think of that, you know, I think of it like this: every minute, every moment of every day, there, whether we make conscious decisions or unconscious decisions, whatever it is, we're always making decisions to go one way, do one thing, or not do one thing. You know, and so I feel like we're splitting off constantly, just branch after branch after branch in our own lives and realities.
Mhm.
So, how many branches and sub branches of that for everyone around the world are millions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, just because the one that I'm experiencing right now is this one, doesn't
Mhm.
mean that the version of me that chose the different path isn't experiencing that in
Right.
another reality right now.
Right.
And the millions of them for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's just it. And I keep thinking, like, is there a way I can jump into a reality? And this is where my mind keeps going. And I don't know if there could be a block there that it's a little terrifying to consciously do something like that. For a lot of people, me included. Is there a way that I can step into a reality that I was never married? I would
Ooh,
love that.
that would be an awesome one.
Yes. Because a lot of my stuff stems from that relationship.
Yeah.
Like what would it look like if I didn't have that? I actually shudder to think, because that was the thing that opened my eyes to almost everything. Like that was the thing that
Yes.
happened.
Yeah.
So I am grateful for it. I'm grateful that it happened, but I'm just curious, like what would have happened? And it might not be good. Like it might not be a good thing.
Well, but it's such an interesting question. I love that
Yeah.
question. And I think there'd be a lot of people out there, you know, who are with you. And well, you know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind changing a few things as well, or seeing,
Mhm.
taking a few things out. So, like,
Yeah.
it's a great thing to ponder, I feel, because
Yeah.
who would you be now? Because the person that you are right now has been formulated, cultivated, developed through all of those things that you've experienced throughout this
Yeah.
reality, I'll say. But
Yeah.
what would happen, or what would have things look like? Who would you be? Like, who knows? Like,
Who
if a
knows?
lot of those things, you know, some things didn't happen to me, or I didn't experience some things as well, like, would I be in the gutter? Who knows? Maybe
Right.
I would be. Maybe I don't know what I'd be doing. But it's just so, it's so mind blowing to think about.
Mhm. Yeah. You could be prime minister. You could be in the gutter. Who knows?
Yeah, I could be Mandela. Who knows?
Ooh. Exactly. Yeah. Who
Or,
knows? It's
or Luke, I could be your father.
or the champion of the world.
Of the world. Thank you. Yes. I know, everybody. We look like a couple of Looney Tunes up here with a double O. Don't bring any of that double T Flintstone stuff to my house. All right. Not to
That's
my
right.
reality.
That's right.
Uh, but
Curiouser and curiouser. That tale.
exactly. Wow. You know, he's got a tail for me, but
Okay.
I never really watched it that much.
Okay.
But I agree. That theory is the one that's most likely for me. Most
Yeah, me too. Makes more
logical.
sense.
Internet wasn't around in the 80s, so, or even in the 60s for the Flintstones, so you can get rid of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The Berenstain Bears, I'm pretty sure, never talked about the internet. So
No, they did not, because I was like 5 or 6 when I first started reading those.
exactly, yeah. So I feel like that theory is completely out there. Memory loss,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a cop out to say people have got memory issues. Now, you could say that it's another thing to do with reality shifts and stuff, like memories altering, shifting, things like that. But I feel like that's less likely as well, because
Yeah.
it's a lot of memories to do the same thing.
Exactly. Will did not rock up with his little, image, mind bender machiney thing
Exactly.
and like
Yeah.
wipe your memory and replace it with something else. and it is a cop out. I think it's a cop out for people who just don't want to admit that something happened,
right,
that they can't explain.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of people do get terrified with this stuff. They're like, what do you like? It's too much. It's too esoteric. It's too woo woo. It's too cray cray.
Yeah.
It's too everything. And for us, it's like the most logical explanation.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, screw you, because I was just going to say people are afraid and people get like closed off instead of having that open view.
Yeah.
So they're not open to the other theories. But the easy thing to do is, and the safe thing to do is to be closed off and be like, oh, it's just my memory. I don't want to explore what else it could be because it's too frightening that these other things, these other realities, these other experiences could exist.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
no, not for this guy. I think it's so interesting.
And not for this guy either.
And what a handsome guy you are.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I feel like we've had a really, really good chat about this today, but
thank you.
We've covered it, and it's been great. Thank you. So interesting, and I'm glad you nailed that Queen one for us because.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just could not accept that at all.
No, and neither could I. That's how far I went. I couldn't have it. I could not. So problem solved.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. I hope everyone has enjoyed this episode and is having some healthy discussions with friends and family about what they remember about some of these Mandela effects. And till next time, have a great day.
Take care, guys.